Okay. The opponent did not know that was there. They just got that lucky, but all right. Sometimes, folks, sometimes you do get that lucky. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I am glad that you are here. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, but kind of trying to relate to our packages that we've been working on for the YouTube here. We've got a couple of different irons in the fire on that front. There are, let's face it, Historic is a really expensive format, right? So we're trying to make it so Historic is more accessible. One of the decks that maybe we've seen popping up around here and there is actually Selesnya Enchantments. The problem with Selesnya Enchantments is rare from the Jumpstart set, or the Historic Horizon set, or whatever. Then rare from the Historic Horizon set, rare from the Historic Horizon set, and rare from one of the Historic Anthology sets. So if you aren't already in Historic and you weren't heavily invested in these sets, this is roughly an infinite number of rares. Considering almost... There aren't very many builds of this deck that don't include like 4 of all of these cards. So that's as many as like 12 rares that you likely may or may not have any of, right? Because these didn't come... None of these are from a standard legal set that hit the client. So, I thought, well, shoot, man. What if we kind of built a deck centered around some cards you might already have, and then kind of give you stepping stones towards building into this deck? The first and most notable of the packages we've got here are the 9 Lives and Solemnity combo. We're only on 3 and 3. It's possible this should be 4 and 4. We'll find out when we play some games, because there aren't a lot of these here, but it can give us a way of locking out the game from conventional damage sources if they can't interact profitably with enchantments, right? So you might have some of these laying around if you've ever built a 9 Live Solemnity deck. Another key to cards you might just have laying around is some Wrath of Gods. This is a very common card to have access to, and Doomskars. Even more so. These have been played very heavily, both in Standard and even to a certain extent Historic, since its release with Kaldheim. So with all of these cards kind of hanging out, we can do some additional shenanigans with, again, a bunch of cards that maybe were around in your Standard environment and you got some use out of then. Chiefly being things like... Legion's Landing, if you were around at that time. Dawn of Hope as well. Birth of Meletis, obviously very easy to have access to. Banishing Light, maybe even some Idyllic Tutor, and the Felidar's Retreat. We are still relying on a few cards that you might not have had access to. So this part doesn't help much on our stated goal, but a lot of these cards you'll also use in the other deck as well. So Sigil the Empty Throne. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying, which is, of course, our primary win condition. We're casting a bunch of enchantment spells, trying to end the game with Sigil the Empty Throne. We also have some Rest in Peace that weren't in a standard legal set, and you may or may not have, but it's difficult to leave home without graveyard hate these days. There's a lot of really good graveyard decks out there, and if we're playing enchantment-based stuff, it can be very, very powerful indeed. And then the Anointed Procession is in here kind of for value as well, since we are doing token-related things on the Legion's Landing front and on the Dawn of Hope front. I think that this is, a reasonable card. Not necessary, I don't think, but, definitely a card that we're going to try and have a good time with. The only other notable card here is Divine Visitation. This is one of the few mythics you would need to, build this deck. You don't have to have any other mythics, actually, for this deck to function. So if that's your pinch point, like it is mine, 0 mythics, then you could even do without this one. But it is kind of fun having Divine Visitation and Dawn of Hope, or Divine Visitation and a Flip Legion's Landing or something like that, right? So without further ado, let's see how the deck plays. We'll come back and talk about maybe some of the directions you might take it if you do end up moving this direction. Right? All right, folks, we're up against Tufofi. Good luck. And sure, I think we'll hang on to this. I think we can hang on to this. Umori the Collector. I wonder if this means... Oh. They're on black-red goblins, I guess? Or are they maybe on some kind of combo? No, they're only creatures. It's gotta be goblins then, right? Because clearly all the spells in their deck the non-land cards in their deck are creatures. Right, so... Alright, Battlecry Goblin, sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not thrilled about this, folks. We won't be able to Wrath of God this turn. I don't know that we would want to anyway, honestly. But, you know, with the Battlecry Goblin down, they have the ability to grant haste. With the Skirk Prospector down, they have the ability to, you know, like, if they were to just slam a bunch of things, they could generate a bunch of mana and use the Battlecry Goblin to grant everything haste. Which, you know, they could use their, what's that dude's name? Krenko. To, if they can get their Krenko haste, then they could make a bunch of dudes, you know, keep generating even more mana and kind of go off, right? But what do you do? This is where we're at. So, opponent just pumps and attacks. Okay, we block. Okay, damage dealt. And turn pass. Alright, we gain a couple of life. Do we draw the card? I don't think so. Let's just get down an Anointed Procession. And pray. I think we have to sweep the board next turn. It's possible we're punting by not Wrath of Godding right now, because these are very powerful creatures. But, you know, if our opponent wants to slam a Muxus this turn, they've got to sacrifice both these creatures anyway. So the Wrath of God, I mean, it wouldn't really do that much, right? So the opponent does, in fact, shock in the Blood Crypt. Opponent pumps and pumps. Okay. If they want to kill our wall by pumping again, we're okay with that. Yep. Fine. So, what do we do now, folks? Feels a little greedy to wait. Or to not Wrath of God, you know? There's just so many ways we die, you know? Alright, Sigil the Empty Throne, come on down. Yeah, you folks didn't come here to watch a coward, right? Let's do it. Now, every time we activate Dawn of Hope, we make 2 4/4 flyings, right? So, we just need to not die here. All right, Goblin War Chief coming on down. If they sacrifice... No, they can't cast Muxus by sacrificing their entire board, because then Goblin Chieftain would no longer be there. So they would sacrifice the entire board, have 5 mana. Just gonna pump. Yep. We take 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Inconvenient, but acceptable. So, Wrath of God. Foretell. And now next turn we can Doomskar first, and then still make 2 angels. Which we will do. Alright. We definitely didn't want them untapping with Krenko. That's one of the ways we lose this game, you know? Oh, crud. Well, it appears to be happening anyway. For some reason, I was thinking that this was the other one, you know? Whatever the heck that thing is called. How embarrassing. Alright, well, let's attack. Damage, damage. We gain a couple of life. Draw a card. Yeah, let's draw another card, I guess. That kind of gets us out of this situation. Again, don't want them untapping with Krenko. So let's get rid of it and make 2 4/4s. I can tell, folks, it's kind of been a hot minute since I've used these cards. We should play Pillow Fort more often. I really enjoy this archetype. I think it's a good time. So let's Idyllic Tutor for 9 lives. 9 lives. Make some angles. No attacks. Believe it or not. We've got lethal on board if we don't need to block with our angels anyway. But this way, they can't just Muxus go wide enough to kill us through 9 lives, you know? Alright. Yeah. These things are fine. And the opponent scoops it up. GG, opponent, GG. Yeah. Alright, so... in retrospect, if I had remembered that this was not Divine Visitation, we might have gone about things differently. Honestly, I would love to go back and review my thought process with this, with remembering that this is Sigil the Empty Throne instead of Divine Visitation. But it still worked out. So, you know, what do you do? What do you do? I suppose you can't be too picky. All right, GG. All right, here we are up against Joe Hyrola. Good luck, Joe Hyrola. And yeah, sure. I mean, I wouldn't describe this as like an amazing hand or anything, but we have half our combo. We have turn 2 Foretell, turn 3 Board Sweeper if we need to, and then into a turn 4 Board Sweeper. Even drew the land, so we're sure to be able to at least do those things if we need to. The opponent does go Skirk Prospector Goblin Instigator, which is a terrifying start. They could, next turn, literally just slam Muxus and win on turn 3, potentially. It is absolutely a thing that can happen. We hope it doesn't. We would like to try and win. Alright, Goblin War Chief, get in for 5 is the play, rather than kill us. We like when they do that. We would not like it if they were like, hey, you're dead. You know, we would be sad. So this is good. Sweep the board. Opponent on 3 mana. 4 mana. Conspicuous Snoop on the top is a Goblin Chieftain. And Goblin Instigator coming out of the hand as well. I don't think we can afford to take a hit this big. So let's just kill this thing. We're not excited about the Goblin Chieftain coming down, but... you know, that's fine. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, play the Felidar Retreat, make a land drop, get a 2/2. Not going to Legion's Landing yet. We would like to Legion's Landing after the Sigil of the Empty Throne. If we can. Oh, no. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, this is fine. For some reason, I was thinking it was going to be able to do 2 damage, but it didn't. Okay. The opponent did not know that was there. They just got that lucky, but all right. Sometimes, folks, sometimes you do get that lucky. So that's fine. Sigil of the Empty Throne, don't kill us. That's what we're saying here. All right. Goblin Matron, holy crud, this is terrifying. What do you get? Just Muxus? It is, just Muxus. All right, well. What do we do here? All right, let's do this and pray they don't kill us. You know, I think that's our best bet. Because we can now land, make a dude. Legion's Landing, make a 4/4, make a dude. Now, there are a whole bunch of different random sequences that just kill us. You know, like this. It happens. GG, folks. We were getting ready to take that one over, but it didn't quite happen. All right, Joe Hyrola, you got us. You got us. Good game. All right, folks. Here we are up against I Lose All the Time. Let's hope we can extend that streak just a little longer, opponent. They lead on a mountain, pass the turn. We're going to lead on a plains and follow suit. Opponent has Mountain Viashino Pyromancer, sure. All right. Well, then I guess we will run out the Legion's Landing here. Just make a dude so that we have something to block with. Falconwrath Pit Fighter. Opponent has the Bone Crusher Giant. Well, shoot, folks. We have the 9 life Solemnity combo, so we're glad they're spending Bone Crushers now. Alright. Let's Authority to the Consuls. Rest in Peace. It's possible the Rest in Peace was supposed to be saved until after the Sigil of the Empty Throne. But, you know. Oh, crud, that's not good news. That can prevent us from gaining life, folks. And likely will do a certain amount of that, I should say. Wrath of God. Opponent, discarding a card, sacrificing a vampire to draw 2 cards. Yep. They all go away. Rolling Vortex now doing work for us. Not much of it, but some. Will they pay? They do not. We gain the life. Burning Tree Emissary creates a couple of the manas. Right. We cannot gain more life now. Falconwrath Pit Fighter does a thing, but we gain no life from it. Yeah. Damage dealt. Hey, there's a Solemnity. Don't mind if I do. Alright. Let's try and survive, shall we? They would have to deal, let's see. They're going to deal 5, so they have to be able to deal 6 this turn. They might be able to, honestly, but this way we also have a direct path to victory, right? Where the Sigil of the Empty Throne makes a bunch of 4/4 flyings, and we charge in, hopefully, for victory. Alright. They don't do the thing. Hey, there we go. Alright, Roiling Vortex, and the opponent scoops it off! Woo! Was really worried they were holding a Bone Crusher Giant there. With a Bone Crusher Giant, they could have had us, but GG. Alright, folks, and we are back. Alright, so what did we learn about the deck? Well, okay, so the deck did okay, but not great. I think we do, in fact, want more Selesnya 9 lives. I think that was a bright spot in our deck, and we just didn't see it often enough. I also felt like the Anointed Procession was good when it came up, but we don't have enough other ways of taking advantage of it for it to be worth its slot. The Legion's Landing is a very common inclusion for me, which is why we included it, but darn it, I don't feel like it pulled its weight at all. So we could easily go with another 9 lives, another Solemnity here out of these 5 cards. Possibly just more board sweepers in their place, but also maybe just some, you know, maybe some more early game, maybe just some more like Birth of Meletis or something to make sure to hit our land drops and the like. But yeah, I would definitely make these changes. As far as, you know, how the deck performed in the abstract, I do think we got a little bit unlucky with a couple of our matchups. So I wouldn't blame the deck entirely, but I would not craft this deck without the intent of moving on towards Selesnya Enchantments. I think for what this deck gives us, Selesnya Enchantments is better. Again, as we stated in the opening, the concern would be the enchantments you have available. So, for instance, like the Sterling Grove, sacrifice Sterling Grove, search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, shuffle it, put it on top. Just having access to these cards is so much better than Idyllic Tutor, right? Search library for enchantment, reveal it, put it in your hand. So this is where I would start. I would go with 4 Sterling Grove right off the bat. It protects our game plan, not the least of which is 9 lives and Solemnity, but also lets us find 9 lives and Solemnity. So even if this was the only rares you could afford is get 4 Sterling Groves, and just kind of splash for it there, your deck is already better. I do think the Sithis giving a bunch of card draw and even some passive life gain, very strong. Admittedly, it is susceptible to the plethora of shocks in the format, but that's okay. I would want at least one of these before we did So 4 Sterling Grove, then 1 Sithis. After that, we would probably move into the Enchantress's Presence because they trigger our sigils. They give us the card advantage and are also enchantments, but not susceptible to shocks. It's also true that Sithis is legendary. So you run into that problem occasionally with that style deck. Getting a couple of these at least, like maybe 2 of these before you move on to more Sithis, is probably the wiser choice. Then the Sanctum Weaver is very, very good in the deck as well, because of course it is an enchantment creature, so it always taps for at least 1. By the time we get all of this, or to the Sanctum Weavers though, we would like to have enough early enchantments that it's tapping for more than 1. You don't want to just have it be a 2-mana mana tapper in Historic. That's not very good. You might consider maybe in another Authority of the Consuls, maybe at that point the Legion's Landings would be worth it more, just to have more early cards. Again, that was one of the reasons we wanted them in the first place, is upgrading to this. You want some early enchantments that will be able to increase the amount of mana Sanctum Weaver's producing. At this point, again, I don't think they were worth it though. So all that being said, as far as what cards you would start by cutting, probably you would, one of the first cards to go would be Divine Visitation and Felidar Retreat. I don't think they're going to do as much in Historic. It kind of takes away a little bit of our combo finish, but it's fine. Of course, again, the Idyllic Tutor would be the first to go, I guess, beyond these cards. But we would want to get this up to a 4 and 4, again, for clarity. And then probably, let's see, one of the Dawn of Hope, I think. And eventually we can start trimming some of our board sweepers as we finish up this package, because we're going to kind of go all in there, I think. But as far as would I play this deck willingly? Yeah, I think it was fine. Would I be excited about this being my end goal? No. So as far as giving this my stamp of approval, yes, if it's with the intention of continuing to upgrade and you've got some of these laying around. If you're like, yeah, I'm not really interested in Selesnya enchantments, this was going to be the end thing, I don't think this would be a justifiable way of spending your wild cards, again, unless you had a bunch of these hanging out. So that said, it was a blast. I did enjoy the game, so I will look forward to playing again next time.